talk, we have Dr. Baha Abu-Esheh. He's a neurologist in Oklahoma. He graduated medical school from the University of Jordan. He's class of 99. He trained in neurology and neurophysiology. He's board certified in headache and sleep medicine. He's the founder and the president of a private practice called Neurology Care, and he's the co-founder and principal of InvestStream. He tends to have very strong opinions about kunafa and about food in general. And then we have Salous. He's an electrical engineer who graduated from the University of Kuwait in 2005. He worked for 15 years with General Electric, advancing from assembly line all the way to senior VP. And he is a co-founder as well and the CEO of InvestStream. And they will be talking to us about real estate investment. Thank you.
Thank you for having us as one of the last presenters. I thought it was going to be a bad deal where everybody might be tired or fatigued or overloaded with all the great information that was shared. But everybody actually plugged a piece of advice that will build to what we're going to present, inshallah. But before we start that, I would like everybody to stand up, please. Just body movement, circulation. Let's do that.
Get some blood to the brain.
All right. So, شوية مسافة بين رجليك التنتين. 45 degrees. Touch your toes like that. Hands behind your back. And stretch your elbows out. 7 reasons doctors and smart investors prefer passive real estate investing.
So my name is Baha Abu-Esheh.
Ala Salous.
So I want to start with a small story. The ladies earlier talked about when you come to America, different language, different accent. Sometimes there are things not related to what we know. بتذكر كنت أعمل أول انترفيو بكوك كاونتي هوسبيتال بشيكاغو. طلعت بجريهاند باص from دالاس لشيكاغو 16 ساعة. وصلت الساعة 5 الصبح. تلبس السوت وبتحلق بدك تروح. فأنا ماشي تعرف الواحد طاقة وماشي هيك بسرعة بتمر علي وحدة بتقول لي excuse me what are you wearing؟ طلع ها ما فهمتش السؤال. فعادت لي إياه what are you wearing؟ طلع حالي مش فاهم شو بتسألني أنا. بعدين شرحت لي what cologne are you using؟ طبعا أنا كنت ناسي شو الكولون. طيب هاي الشغلات مرات اللي أنت ما بتعرفش كيف بتواجهها ب different culture بتصير معك. بدي أرجع لأورلاندو. إحنا سبحان الله for Disneyland Jab did a great job to get us all together in Disneyland. My memory of Disneyland in Orlando, 2 aspects. أنا وعلاء أخذنا العيلة قبل 7 سنين. We drove from Oklahoma and طبعا عشان الأولاد the whole deal we had a flat tire on the way. It's the whole fun. بأورلاندو طبعا أنت للأولاد لاعبهم طول اليوم مبسوطين. بعدين you want to treat yourself. I am a big fan of smoked turkey legs. If you can relate to that in Disneyland.
That thing.
So خلصنا رحت حامل حالي شريت 2 turkey legs. I'm coming back في chaos. My wife وماسك العرباية وابن صغير هذاك المجرم اللي بالنص على الأخير على اليمين أكثر واحد راجع حاله وماسك العرباية لفوق وبراجع برا. فأنا طبعا I got involved in this. خذ التركي legs نظف سوي ارجع على الأوتيل the whole 9 yard. ما كلناش التركي legs. ثاني يوم طبعا خربوا. فراحت علي ما أكلتش تركي legs. That's my bad memory of Orlando. آخر صورة ما إلها علاقة بإشي بس عشان بعض الناس يزعلوا. رائد شو شايف أنت؟ and
خلاص معلش جماعة مدريد واللي بيحبوا الجماعة كناف الخشنة احنا اسفين.
طيب هلا احنا we work hard as doctors and always the question comes up how do I protect my money? علاء.
Let me tell you. So before we start, who invested in real estate before? Show of hands. Keep your hands up. Who invested in commercial real estate? Apartments? Oh, we have 2. Great. Awesome. So the first thing, one of my favorites is the rules of investing. And Warren Buffett says rule number 1 is never lose money. And do you know what rule number 2 is? Don't forget rule number 1. So any investment strategy should start with basic foundation. And Azad is a great management, and I commend you for what they do. But I'm trying to simplify it for my level. The first one is wealth preservation. It sounds so simple, but when emotions are high, so many people screw it up. And I can't hide that I'm biased towards multifamily and apartment complexes, but this can apply to many real estate conversations. First, a lot of people invest in stocks and bonds, and that's great, where they do their wealth planning. But there's a lot of alternative investments. And my favorite is apartment complexes. We buy real hard assets with physical addresses. You know where it is, you can touch it and feel it. There's no overvalued stocks or pie-in-the-sky technology. The second one, they're income producing on day one. We buy a running business with contracts and tenants. So on day one, it's an income producing, cash flowing business. You don't have to wait on a land to appreciate over time. Third one, America, just like the rest of the world, is becoming a renter's nation. The American dream of buying a house is no longer that important for many of the new generations. Number one, by choice, for some of the cases, but by force in many cases as well. So the rental demand is high, and it's just going to continue to increase. Two of the other things that apartments offer, very short cycle in the life cycle of the leases. So we can renew the lease every 6 to 12 months, and that will allow for adjusting the market rent when there's inflation. So we don't have to get stuck with old contracts. And what that does is help stabilize the revenue from the property. Even if we lose tenants, we tend to have hundreds of tenants and hundreds of units, and that will keep the rent flow stable and predictable.
طيب, I protected my money, but I want to grow. What can I do to grow my wealth?
All right, 3 ways. Number one, everybody enjoys and loves the mail money concept. Every month, you get a check. Cover your expenses, and the rest of the money shows up with no effort. Number two, if you invest in the right market, when there's job growth, population growth, the right demographics, and business-friendly regulations, that's not on the east, not on the west, somewhere in the center and the south. The market will be your friend when you exit your investment. So that's the second way we make money. The third one is forced appreciation, which is my personal favorite. We buy a business with operations, and I love levers, and this is the lever we pull. We improve the revenue, we reduce expenses, and we get that multiples in returns when we exit. So we're not just rely on the market, we rely on our ability to improve the business we get in.
طيب, I want to play with the big boys. What can we learn from institutional money, Wall Street?
So again, I'm biased to alternative investments. Do your thing with stocks and bonds. Do it. This is not a replacement. But we need to think like institutional portfolios and private equity. A lot of institutional portfolios have less stocks, more real estate and other alternative investments, and less bonds as well. Obviously, this changes based on your retirement plan, but it's not just a risk you need to look at, it's a risk-return profile. So here's an example of all the different investment vehicles that you can think of between small stocks, big stocks, bonds, and commercial real estate, showing over 20 years return risk profile. All I'm advising here is have an alternative investment. Individuals tend to mix their investments between 60% in stocks, 15% in bonds, and keeping 20% in cash or liquid form. Private equity don't. Private equity goes real estate and alternative investment 30%, bonds at 10 or 11%, and stocks at 33%. And they do venture capitalists too, so they invest in high technology. or new technology, high tech. So we need to think like that. And the best place for JAPA to think about, for all of our little projects in the US, whether it's a school or a masjid, or JAH, where we have an idea where it's for profit, but it's not really for profit. Well, this is what Ivy League endowments does. So think about Ivy League. If Ivy League wants to supplement their income because they're always 20% short or deficit, that's what they do. So Yale, Princeton, Harvard, that's how they generate other income outside of tuition and grants and other things. So let's think like the big boys.
I hate paying taxes. Don't you guys all agree? So what can I do about this?
All right. Never pay taxes again? Can we do that? All right. We know someone who went all the way up and he paid 0 taxes in 7 years. So can we learn from that? In real estate, it's very simple. 2 areas where we can avoid taxes and not pay them legally. First is depreciation. So we can depreciate the property and anything inside the property. And what's beautiful about apartments is we can accelerate depreciation within 5 years, which is typically our cycle and the business cycle for our business plan. So we buy a property, hold it for 5 years, and we'll get maximum tax benefits. In 2023, if you invest $100,000, you can get $60,000 to $70,000 negative paper loss in year 1 alone. So you invest 100, we give you negative 70 in year 1, paper loss. Anyone makes K1? Raise your hand. 1099? All right, think seriously about this. The second one is mortgage interest. Typically, passive investors are not liable. They don't sign the loan. They're not part of the mortgage process. But they get the benefit of deducting the interest. So even though you're not part of the loan, you still get the benefit by deducting the interest.
All right. كل يوم الصبح بنسمع أخبار inflation و recession. This is all on everybody's mind, right? What can we do about this? How is this related to that?
All right, I mentioned this briefly. Inflation is up. Instead of fighting it and crying about it and not sleeping well about it, we can leverage it. So inflation increases rent and expenses, but the net will be positive. And in apartments, we have short leases, 6 to 12 months. So we can always adjust to the new numbers. We take advantage of that all day long. The other factor for the inflation is a lot of people now with the high interest rate cannot afford to buy a house anymore, especially in the major cities. So they will actually come and try to rent an apartment. So more demand on top of increased rent. So it's a win-win situation. Now, this is not sustainable. And that's why you see the Fed increasing the rent so they can slow down the economy and have a recession. That's their intention. They want to destroy the economy, at least for a short term of time. Layoffs, recession, so we can go back to normal. But in a transitionary period, we can take advantage of that.
طيب ليش ما أسوي هذا الحكي لحالي? Why not to do it on my own?
This is the power of togetherness. So many people talked about it earlier, so I don't want to add a lot. But Yadullahi ma'al jama'ah here. With more people, we can do bigger things. We can pool money, we can buy better properties in better cities with more margin because we have economies of scale. We can negotiate better loan terms, we can negotiate better expenses. It's everything that Mahmoud talked about in his vertically integrated dream. Same thing in real estate. It's the same concept. So let's do bigger things. Let's stop playing around with small houses and stocks here and there. And we can scale exponentially because we have full-time professional staff in the properties. So instead of worrying about the day-to-day operation, we can worry about what's our next investment.
Why not active investing? يعني I see this is too much. Am I overwhelmed? We have practices to run. We don't have time. Should we stick to active investing?
Who has single homes, rentals? Amman or here? Doesn't matter. All right. Awesome. أنا حكيت لقصتك. Any of this familiar? بخربش البيت. طيب منيح. إذا خبطته بصاروخ بوقعش. تمام. So that what I'm proposing here, you can invest passively. You can buy a share in real estate. It's real, you can do it. You can buy a stock in a property just like you can buy a stock in a company. And you don't have to be the landlord. You don't need to get the 2 a.m. call. You don't have to fight for rent collection. And you don't have to do the eviction process. That's horrific. Now, the other thing from here is you can still enjoy all the benefits of being a real estate investor. You can still enjoy the tax benefits. You can still enjoy the profit sharing. And you get to receive the cash flow and the return from the sale of the investment. So if you want to claim your time back, this is a good way to look at it. All right, so we forgot to do the intro. Ala Salous, I was born in Kuwait, grew up in Kuwait, witnessed the 2 wars. We left Kuwait in 2005. So I finished my electrical engineering in Kuwait. We all had in the team, between me, Yusuf, and Baha, similar background. We all started in Kuwait, like many of the Palestinian and Jordanians did. Came to the US, did my MBA. I couldn't find a job. It was hard. No English, no track record. What do? I land in Oklahoma City, where the family business is. So I bust tables at IHOP. Been to IHOP? Anybody? All right. Carpet cleaning business. So we bought a little van. We steamed carpet until I finished my MBA. That was my second thing. And then I was so proud that I found my first job. It was a $10 an hour assembly line job. So I soldered electronics, built pumps and motors. It was fun. From there, General Electric decided and came and bought our company in Oklahoma City. So I said, okay, what's that about? Moved into engineering, marketing, product management, AI. We had all the fun. I had 2 startups within General Electric. We acquired 3 big businesses. And I worked 7 years as an internal consultant for the CEO. After all that accomplishment, somebody had to wake me up. And that's a benefit of my partners. So introducing Baha. Baha, as everybody knows, is a neurologist in Ardmore. Same thing, he grew up in Kuwait until 1990, when he was, in 10th grade?
Yep.
Moved to Jordan, new environment, with strong challenges come strong men. He became the 7th في التوجيهي على المملكة, got a full scholarship الجامعة الأردنية, أجى على Oklahoma because of IHOP, or before IHOP, one of the 2. And then ended up in Ardmore, Oklahoma. So Oklahoma City was great. And mashallah, he grew up his clinic. He has 5 providers today. And he's very active in the medical field, chief of staff, president of the Southern Oklahoma Physician Association, and the medical director of the sleep lab. He has a very early on knack for entrepreneurship. So he's not your typical doctor. All right. Then we have Yusuf. Yusuf is a problem. Yusuf, doctor of pharmacy. Same thing, grew up in Kuwait. He's over there with the camera. Yusuf studied pharmacy, Philadelphia and Jordan. Went through the process, passed all his tests, and came to Oklahoma again because of the IHOP. And he worked for Walmart for 10 years. He was top class in Philadelphia, top sales manager and pharmacy manager in Walmart, top 10%. And he started helping Baha in neurology care. And before you know it, he was running the show. Baha was put on the side. Can you imagine Baha on the side? Yusuf took in charge and started managing his clinic. And now Yusuf growing his medical office's consulting company, where he helps doctors grow and expand their clinics. But what's unique about Yusuf, he was more entrepreneurship. He has that entrepreneurship more than we do. So he kept kicking Baha, he kept kicking me. And I had my big career. I was a senior VP at GE. So it was the hardest decision to leave GE. But it was easy for me to give him the advice to leave Walmart. So I convinced him to leave Walmart alone, leave pharmacy altogether, and double down in helping doctors grow their clinics. But only 9 months later, he came back and kicked my butt and said, you have to leave your big career. A word of advice for all the people who said it's either academics or private. I did both. I did 15 years, maybe that's way too long, maybe do 10. You can have a career for 10 years and then go private. The only advice, make sure you plan the exit when you enter, so you acquire skills that will help you when you go private. But I do advocate for going private. So every time Baha and I have challenges, Yusuf pushes us and he's our positive force.
I want to tie this up, thanking JAP, getting us all together. Work as a team. Team, team, team. We keep insisting this is very important and major. I wanted to add another point على اللي حكينا عنها بالأخير to close.
All right. So we told you the whole journey, but we didn't tell you what we do in real estate. So within 18 months, we bought 3 properties, over 900 units in Houston, Texas. We have $110 million assets under management, and we're growing. We want to reach $1 billion under management within the next 10 years. Alhamdulillah, we're growing in Texas. We're focused on Texas, but we are open to other investment opportunities with more to come. The other thing we do is we invest first before we offer any investment to our potential investors and partners. So we invested in over 1,600 doors as well in that journey to learn, become the customer before we offer it to our customers.
So aim to the sky, land on the moon. Thank you.
Thank you.